Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stolen Tricycle podcast. My name is Lucas Chassie, and tonight with me I have,
I'm Justin.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Rob.
and tonight we've got a very special guest named Lenny Schwartz, who's going to talk to us about some of his upcoming projects as well as past projects. Now, Lenny is an established screenwriter and play director, so let's meet Lenny.
Lenny, I just want to thank you for joining us on our humble little podcast.
Aw. Well, thank you for having humble little me over. Aw. So I guess I can kind of start up. Hi, I'm a playwright. I'm a screenwriter. I work at a bank. I write for comic reviews. I don't do drugs. I mean, that's okay if you guys do drugs. I don't notice anything out here. I'm not going to tell your parents. I might. Especially green guy. I love this guy's a fucking Hulk over here.
He definitely does drugs.
I really want to lick your hair, Rob. Anyway, like lean through the phone and go, lean forward. That's where you are. I got my mouth, Jesus. So anyway, fucking amazing. Wow.
What did we get into?
Yeah, so I write plays. I do screenplays. I'm a father. I can't believe that either. That's amazing. Yeah.
You should just do stand-up comedy at this point.
I actually did stand-up twice. The first time I did great. The second time, holy crap, I sucked. But you know what I actually did a thing where, and this is awful. I don't know what I was thinking at this point, but this was back when I was 18 years old. I was, this really skin rail thin guy. And I was telling jokes, and while I was doing it, I was pouring whipped cream in my pants. Like that. And it's like that. It was very strange, right? And people was kind of watching me do this. And don't get excited, Rob. Your hair just turned a different hue. Like, you notice that, guys? Look, it's greener. And so then at the end of the jokes, I put a cherry on top. But what was funny was 10 years later, I couldn't remember what the point was for doing that. And so that was my story that had really no end. But that actually happened. But I got booed on that one, and people were like, "Ooh," and I'm like, "Oh God, I'm never doing bar mitzvahs again." Those kids.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I had my first screenplay when I was in 2011. Actually, that was my first screenplay I actually written.
Okay. Since you've been, doing this, and you wrote your first one in 2011. What, how did you get into theater and film? Like, what inspired you to do it?
So I always wanted to be. I think every person at one point or another wants to be an actor or an actress or something. They're like, "Oh, I can do this," or they think about it or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be an actor, believe it or not. And that's what I wanted to do. And I did all the high school plays and I did everything. But I was actually supposed to take a journalism class in 10th grade. And what ended up happening, my guidance counselor was a real burnout. We're talking like Sam Elliott burnout. Like, I mean, this guy burned out like in the 70s, and he's like, oh God, a Judas walked into my office. Fuck him. And he basically he screwed up so badly that there was no more room in the journalism class in 10th grade. So he defaulted me to theater, and he's like, well, you'll like it. You're kind of fruity.
How nice.
Through words. And I said, okay. So I went there, and I was like, okay, I went there, and I love theater. I love theater. And I got into my first play, which was actually a musical, Anything Goes. And this is a really offensive story coming right now. So this might be something you might want to mute out. Because when I took off, I wasn't wearing my glasses in high school, and this actually happened. So when I take off my glasses, the estimation was that I look Chinese because I squint. And,
Gotcha.
No.
Yeah, no, seriously, it's awful. And please, no, this is really bad. So they're like, well, we want you to play Anything Goes with the characters Ching and Link. And they were like, oh my gosh. So I'm like, I wanted to do it, and that was I wanted to try theater, and nobody found anything wrong with this.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it was me and another guy, and it was like, people were laughing, people were fun, and I said, this feels really wrong at this point.
Right.
So then they were like, well, he's something about him when he goes on stage, he looks funny. That was the thing. If I went on stage, I sit here, you're gonna laugh no matter what you do.
Right.
I mean, it had us going the whole time.
He said, if you stand there, you just look funny. People just want to laugh, and I'm like, okay. So they put me in another show where I played a 90-year-old guy. And he said, because you have wrinkles in your head. And I said, okay, we're going to put wrinkles. This is the whole, this was actually how deep this this school went, and we basically just I started acting, and I was in this plays. I did all the plays there. I was in Cinderella. I did all these things, and then I loved it. And in college, I was like, I didn't want to go to college. My mom's like, you have to go to college. You can't be a bum, like like your father. And my dad was like, I'm not a bum, and he's kind of a bum. But my dad, rest in peace. I'm Jewish. I don't know what I'm doing that for. Anyway, so, but they said you have to go to college. I said, oh, I'll go for theater. And I was in my very first year of school. I was in all the shows in Everett Island College, and I love theater. I love theater. And then I actually said I had, and in my when I was in, I think it was 18 years old, I wrote my first play.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I had to take a math class over the summer because I'm fucking dumb. I feel like you can't pass algebra 2. What's wrong with you? And you got to go to a summer class. And, the summer class was a guy who was like, "We're gonna pass you if you just show up." And, and so it was great. And so I was kind of bored in the class, and so I would write a play. And I kind of figured out how to write plays, and I wrote it longhand, 110 pages, if you can imagine that. But then I got an A in the class for math, and I had a play at the end. And I really wanted to. I actually wrote about my experiences about doing stand up. That was where the stand up, it all correlates. But I wrote a play about being a stand up, and I submitted it to the college. And the college hasn't done an original play at that point in '95 in about 25 years. So we want you to do an original play. And so I did my first play, Lost in a Daydream. That's where I got the Daydream theater company. That's where my theater company is. And everyone fucking hated it. Oh my god, like it was wild.
No.
They hated this thing. This was like, I was like the devil. And,
Everybody hates this. I'm gonna name my theater company after it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, my thing was, I was like, and I'm like, you're never gonna direct a show ever again at the theater. And like, oh my god, like I'm like, they're like, I mean, at the college, like you're like, they basically was kind of like blackballed. I'd audition for a play, they wouldn't cast me. They would be like, not that I deserve to be in a show at all, but you can really feel it in a room, but nobody likes you.
Right.
I mean,
I
you can feel that. And
every time I'm on set.
Every time you're on, that's what it feels like sometimes.
Or on a podcast.
Yeah, you know what it's like, Rob. We're
Thanks,
together.
Luke.
Yeah.
It's on, buddy.
Yeah, we're gonna dye our hair. So great. Oh man, I want my hair just like that. Oh man, it'll be so good. I wake up in the middle of the night. I'm like, why? Anyway, so the college made a very strong commitment that they weren't doing original plays anymore. And I loved, even though everyone hated the play, I loved writing and directing. I felt like I could do something with it. And so then I said, my senior year, I'm going to do one more play. And they're like, we're never going to let you do this on campus. And like, never, you're never going to do this. And it was pretty much like I was blackballed. So I said, you know what? Why do I need a college? I already have all my theater courses. Why do we need a college to put on a show?
Right.
So I actually got a paper out. I did it in the mornings on Sunday mornings. And for 6 months, I did that, and I saved up money for my second show, which was The Scarecrow. The Scarecrow was actually a play when I was this is when it gets serious. But when I was young, I was an anorexic. I was 93 pounds. And so I wrote a very personal play that was completely brutal, completely different of the comedy stuff. And then all of a sudden, everyone wanted to be part of it. And it was like my senior year, my last moment. We got into the newspaper. We got into the Boston Globe at one point. And then URI hired me to do the play there. And for the next year, and it was like my first ever experience being hired by a institution or something like that. And they're like, here's $5,000, do your show. And oh my God. They wanted to tour the show, and I just couldn't do it. It was like so emotionally exhausting.
Understandable.
Yeah. But funny story was that a few years later, maybe about, I think it was 2001 was the last time I did it. Before this time, and in 2008, I had an offer on Broadway in New York to do the show. And
wow.
From one of my old theater friends, he remembered the show, and he sponsored it. And so basically, at that point, I took up. This was gonna be my big chance to take something to New York from Rhode Island, and it was amazing. It was like an amazing experience, but it was supposed to be like a how can I put this? It was supposed to be like to get producers and stuff to come see the show and like do things. And the last day, one guy came in, and it turned out like he said, "Oh, I was actually serving drinks. Actually, I was giving like people waters and stuff like that." Guy came in and looked like hell, and I said, "Hey, he's like, yeah, you guys have some water?" He's like, "I got to see the show today. I have a friend, who told me to come see it." I handed him a bottle of water. He's like, "Yeah, let me give you money." I'm like, "No, you look like you've had enough, buddy. Like you've been having like a rough day." Guy goes sit down, and he loves the show. And afterwards, he loves the show. This guy. And afterwards, he comes down and he goes, who's the writer? Where's the writer of this? And I go, me. And he goes, "Oh, here's my card." He goes, "You're a playwright and a bartender." I'll never forget this. He goes, "You're a playwright and a bartender." I'm like, "Oh." And so yeah, he leaves. And then turns out he was actually an off-Broadway producer. He did Altar Boys in New York. He did he works at the God, what's the name of the place? The big theaters on 47th Street. And he says, "I want money," and he wrote us a check, me and my producer, to do our next show the following year.
Oh, wow.
And then every year since 2008, I've done at least one show in New York. So
Wow.
and actually take people. So yeah, I've either raised money. Now we actually have a private sponsor who gives us money, not a lot, but enough to take people up. So we have hotel rooms and like meals and stuff for the most part to take a show every year. Last year we did 2 shows in New York. I was going to do 2 shows in New York this year, but coronavirus. So I actually had a show go up. I always like to say I have at least 1 show a year go up in New York, and I did have one in February, which was nice. That somebody paid me to do, and I did a nice show up there. So, but I try to do that at least once a year, and it's been wonderful. So and in 2011, off that, Richard Griffin emailed me out of the blue, and he says, "Hey, you want to do a movie?" I said, "Sure, why not? Let's see what you have to offer." And we kind of met. We hit it right off. Like he's like a kindred spirit. Like he's like my missing link. In 1995, when I was putting my first show up, I actually met Richard he did a film. He came to my film class, and he showed his film, and it was visually beautiful. This unbelievable film. And he says, here's my card, and please, if you want, join our film sets. It did a great film. And I forgot about it. And then when we did a film in 2011, Murder University, we remembered each other. Basically, it was really interesting from then. And so we did our second film. This is the cool thing. We did our second film, which was Normal. And he says, "Well, what do you want?" I handed him the screenplay, and I had no recollection of this. And because at the time, I think his film was untitled. And he goes, "Lenny," he goes, "this is a great screenplay." And he goes, "What are you calling it?" And I told him the name Normal. That was the name of my film I did in your film class. And he goes, "That was the name of it." It's kind of this, he goes, "But can we call it that?" He's like, "Yeah, absolutely." So kind of this weird connection that kind of happened with Richard along the way.
That's
It's
weird how that all like works out.
It gets even weirder. So my dad passed in 2011, and Richard and I started talking. And my dad used to take me to this comic store that Richard used to work at. Mm-hmm. So we kept crossing paths all these times, and really it was kind of like serendipitous way. Until he emailed me, we kind of had this. He actually used my theater in 2010 for a film shoot, and I wasn't there. The only day I wasn't there the entire year. It was there, and we just kept missing each other. And then in 2011, we stopped missing each other. We started working, and I always credit Richard for any film work I've had, anything beyond that. If he didn't say, "Hey, you want to write a screenplay," I would never have written one. And now it's just like another thing I do, and it's great. So anyway, so it's my long roundabout way to where we are. And so if you guys want me to lick Rob's hair, I'll do it anytime. I'll do that. If you guys want some entertainment stuff, I will seriously break him in two, guys. I mean, he is.
I'm sorry. I'm still loving back in February. Oh, when you came walking in, I went, "There goes the gayest guy in the cast."
Yeah. Well, I didn't think you were gay. I thought you were really fucking gay. I mean, there's a real difference there. No, I'm not. I mean, I was like, oh my gosh! Like literally, my hand went on fire. I'm like, oh shit.
Oh jeez.
Rob's not really fucking gay?
No,
you could just tell when he walked by he wore Fruit of the Loom.
No, I think. And then someone told me he likes both boys and girls. I don't want to talk about your sexuality, Rob, but you like both, right? Is that right?
I am polyamorous, pansexual. I reach for the personality.
Is that why I see you outside my window every night?
Yeah.
Well, that's because I admire your pottery.
Yeah, I actually believe that most people are bisexual. Best percentages, I think.
Yeah, everyone's a little bit gay.
Yeah.
I'm bisexual. That's my sexuality. Right. Then we have the two.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, yeah.
No, I
something
mean,
that, yeah.
there's Justin and Rob. They're whatever they are, and I define myself as straight with exceptions.
Yeah, that's what that's kind of what I feel too. I tried really hard to be gay for a really long time, like really hard, and I was married for most of those times. So, let me tell you, no, but honestly, I think the world would be and this is just me from my heart. I really do think that the world would be a better place if everyone was bisexual and admitted it. I think it would be a better place. This dude may want to kill me. I don't know, but
A lot less people would be angry.
Yeah, he's got the Punisher shirt on. I love that. That's great. It's a little Punisher. I noticed that. That's great. Holy shit.
Yeah, I direct something comic book related tonight.
There you are.
Yeah.
At the end of this podcast, I will lose at least 5 or 6 Facebook friends or somewhere along the line. I guarantee you. It's like, you know what? Fuck them because that's why.
I mean that's the thing you've been running into with just all your your posts about everything going on with all the people who want to jump out.
This is the weirdest thing because in my Facebook, what ends up happening, I have 5,000 friends, so they cap me at 5,000, and I piss people off, but there's always a queue of other people. So if someone says like, you're this and this and this, and I hang up and they delete me, I'm like, okay, mom, no problem. And then and I'm like, and I go down to the next one and then to the next one. So
That's weird. I lost a friend, but I'm still at 5,000.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter, man. They're like, oh, you'll regret this. I'm like, I won't. Just please go so I can hit the button already.
Jeez.
No,
no, it's fine.
What are you gonna regret? A constant annoyance that you no longer have to deal with?
Yeah, that's the thing. Something. What I actually like doing now, though, with the Facebook, I call it the Facebook. I
call it the face space.
Oh, really?
Combining Facebook and MySpace.
Oh yeah. I miss MySpace, man. I was a king.
So do I, man.
Oh,
I call it a road to depression. So.
Oh, it really was.
People killed for my top 8. No, they didn't.
no.
Listen, people don't even kill to be your top at this point.
That's a sex joke. I know it. You guys are awesome. Oh man.
Oh my god.
Oh my heart.
Oh, Lenny, we're gonna get along real good.
I love you guys. You guys are great.
All right, so Lenny, with these social distance movies you've been doing,
Yep.
How do you go about writing over 100 parts and keeping a cohesive story?
Well, if you watch them, a lot of people will tell you I don't. I'm just kidding. Well, but there's always like a theme to there. It's tough because these were kind of done with the idea of like I posted something on Facebook and it was just kind of like a lark, and I was like, hey, who wants to do something? Let's have this. And I thought maybe 10 people would go up, and I would be like, hey, you know what? We'll have maybe 20 people top will want to act. And it was so weird because I put it up there, and I'm like, I'm not going to check my Facebook. And I look over and I'm like, the next day I look at it and I'm like, I have like 120 responses. I'm like, oh God, what have I done? This was the first one. Who wants to do something? I'm like, you know what? When I started thinking, the very first film we did, Far From Perfect, I actually wrote that on my iPhone that I'm tolling right now. I wrote it on this thing. I did.
Oh wow.
Not you. Yeah, I wrote that. I wrote this wrote it in 10 days on my iPhone. Literally taking walks, going around, and every person became someone who was really exciting. I was like, and so I was like, well, what can I do? And I was like, well, there's a lot of fears I have with the coronavirus, a lot of fears that we all have. And
right.
And we all have, and there's a lot of things that people can't come to terms with even now. Like, I think we're in for another year, maybe even like another 6 to 9 months. And I know, look at Rob's face, like, Rod, he's like, I'm never gonna get laid.
It's the green hair, total turn off.
That green hair turned white. It was, but the truth, like seriously, go to like sites and stuff. We're in for a lonely time, man.
But I have a mail order bride show up any day now.
Dude, if you want, we can chip in or something like that. Something like that. Help out our friend. The next episode, we help out our friend.
We'll start a GoFundMe. Help Rob find love.
Oh gosh, geez, no, he will. It's gonna be fine. In 2022, he's gonna find something.
2022.
I was like, okay, well, if 120 people want to act, let's make 120 people act. Let's do it. And it's as much as I joke and everything, it is actually turned into my responsibility at that point to give people a little bit of fun. And that's all it really is. It's a lark. is to say, hey, you know what? We can't go out. We can't do this. But why? But if I can write something, and even if it's not, even if it's something that we just put on for ourselves, and we go together as a group and we watch each other, we cheer each other on the screen. So if you have 120 people and they're all watching something in a watch party, it's kind of cool. Somebody does their monologue, and then people are like, "Yeah, this is awesome. It's Rob. It's like it's Derek. It's this person. It's Casey. It's Gene Ann." And some of these people don't even know each other, and it's
Right.
the idea is like it's so cool to get all these people together. And we actually did the entire thing in 3 weeks. Like it was from start to finish. Actually, it was 20 days. Like edited and everything. It was 20 days, and I would just be going home from work, sitting on my phone till 1 o'clock in the morning, typing. People text me like, "I'm sorry, I can't do this," and it turned into this really cool, let's see what happens. And I give Nathan a lot of credit, and the editor and the co-director. He basically, him and I were just we're just making shit up as we went along. We didn't know what we were doing. This time around with the Comic Book Junkies, we had a very much easier time because we knew okay, we did this, and now we can play with the form a little bit, which we did. It was great, but it was so much easier because the first one was okay, we got to figure out how to get this done. And that was the whole point. It was one of the reasons I wanted to do it was because I wanted to be the first one out of the gate in one regards. But at the same token, no one has really, we have people doing these plays online and we have people trying these things, but no one's really taking that initiative to say, hey, you guys are home. Let's get together and just have fun, And I think what you guys are doing great with the podcast, because you guys are like, hey, let's get together once a week and just do this and have fun. And I think the creative community, this is an opportunity to do that, And
Right.
I think we should be doing it. I think we all should be doing it. And my hope was with the first film was that maybe we do it and somebody would come out with something that's so much more inventive than what I could do. Anything it's holy shit, this is the next stage in film. It's holy shit, oh my god, this blew mine away. Mine just turned to dust. Hey, but I was hoping that at least someone would say, hey, you know what? This idiot can do it. That's me. This idiot can do it, and we can do it. And that would be the coolest thing in the world. Have you guys ever seen the movie Kind Rewind at all? Anyone's ever seen that movie?
Yeah. I saw the movie quite a few years ago.
Yeah, great movie. And I think the idea behind that was that they had they lost all their videotapes, the whole stories, and so they started making their own. And it became this really big community experience.
The movie was hilarious.
Yeah, it was a hilarious movie. They redid for the neighborhood people, RoboCop and Ghostbusters, and it was really cool. It was Jack Black and Mos Def. It was unbelievable. But what's cool was that it was about community, and I kind of hope that if we're going to be home, I'm kind of hoping over the next 6 months, people start doing that and find a way to make it something that's more. That's always been the kind of hope idea of it.
So what you're looking to do is inspire kind of a new generation of film and theater.
No, not so much inspire, but backhandedly inspired. Be like, you know what? This guy did it. He's a fucking idiot. Look what he did. All these mistakes. Let's do something ourselves and fuck this guy.
Hey, inspiration can come in many ways.
Yeah, or even something like that. I'd hope. And it's kind of I almost feel like the first film almost kind of fails in that regard, because I love the way it came out. It's so imperfect. And this one is actually the one we're doing now, the Comic Book Junkies one. It's so imperfect in so many ways, but for me, it's so perfect. I actually think that if I can edit it, if Nathan can edit it the way we've been doing it and the way it's looking, this could actually be one of the best film things I've ever written, actually. Believe it or not.
Wow.
And that was the whole point of it, because it was okay, the first film we put together was kind of like this. Why don't I actually write a script this time and see what I can come up with? And I was watching it the other night, and it's stupid, but it's just so many honest moments. What's cool is that we hand people, even with Rob, believe it or not, people, you hand people a script, and then they throw their own creativity behind it, and that's the whole point. And it's wow, it's so fucking mind blowing to watch. Rob came in with the scene. I didn't even recognize him. He looked like a human being. It was amazing. But nobody did. But he was so good in the scene. But it was so much creativity that went on in there, and he's walking around like he was a character that he was playing, and it was so cool to watch that creativity that they put into this. And then I see other people doing the monologue scenes, and they come up with their own ideas, and it's so nice to have that, the back and forth. With saying, hey, can I do this? Yeah, you can do it. Anything's possible. The other thing it's allowed me to do too is work with people around the world that I've always wanted to work My friends who I love. I have so many friends that I love that I can never work with. The first time I did some of it, and some of them came to me. But the second time I was like, who wants to do this? And I actually reached out to a few friends. My friend Bob Colonna, who I've always wanted to work with. He lives 20 minutes away from me, but he's always doing something. I'm like, you're home, let's do this. And he's like, cool. I have a friend in California who I see at San Diego Comic-Con once a year. And I'm like, Paul, you want to be a part of this? And he's like, yeah, I want to do I want to do the next one. And it was so cool to have those moments with people being like, hey, I have friends in New York who I've never worked with before. I have people in North Carolina, and then we can do that. And it's kind of like the possibilities are endless with that. So I kind of enjoy that. But I also don't want to do them too many of them, because I think what happens a lot of times is that you do one, people are like, yeah, it's exciting. This one was kind of like, oh shit, I'll do one. I made a joke if I, at the end of it, I'm like, if this is successful, we'll do one about Comic-Con. And people are like, yeah, and I'm like, oh.
I saw that post, and the second San Diego Comic-Con canceled, I immediately threw out, hey, how
Yeah, and
about...
everyone, and I was like, they canceled on the new one. They canceled. I'm like, oh shit, I have to do it now. And I don't like to welch. I always, my dad always said to me, he said, if you give your word to something, you do your best to get that word out. And if you give your word about something, you should. And so I said, all right, well, I'm going to write this. We'll make something else. I also don't want to do them too many myself either, because I think there's a certain specialness that came out the last two times. This one's very special. I love the way it came out. But I also don't think you want to force it. I think if you force it and try to make something every time, you're just going to, if you don't feel something that comes organically, believe it or not, and I hate to say this, there's a lot of stupid things that happen in these things, but and especially in this one and upcoming ones, a lot of silly things. There's a lot of heartfelt things, but it all comes from an honest place that I just have to say, like, when I worked with people, here you go, this is what I felt, with this. I don't think I can manufacture that. I have to, I can do it if I'm doing a paid job, and I can manufacture that. But when you're doing something creative that's just for yourselves, your friends, I think it has to come from an organic place. So this one I feel is very organic. I feel very happy with the way it came out. I don't know if I can do many of those, to be honest with you. I want to do something special. I don't want to do something. I want to do something because it matters to me.
Right.
And the first one mattered, and this one matters. So
Just to state, Justin was in this too.
yeah. Oh, look! Thank you guys, Justin. You're great.
He was your Iron Man.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You were my Iron Man. Holy shit! Oh my gosh! Yeah, I'm like, Jesus Christ. I was like,
look a lot different.
Your building looks familiar.
Oh my god! I was gonna say that. Oh my god! So it is just. Oh my god! Shit. See, I don't even know who's in these fucking.
I'll tell you this much. What you said about
no, Justin, you did great. You were amazing. You were amazing. I'm so sorry. I'm just like, that's a compliment, though. You look so different and everything. My God. Yeah, you look much hotter now.
Doing that and being able to have something to do and been stuck at home for a year.
Yeah.
It definitely was. It was pretty awesome. It gave me something to actually look forward to.
That's awesome.
Recorded at 3:00 in the morning when my kid was sleeping, and spent hours trying to get the stupid helmet to light up, which it's still not. It's supposed to be on right now. And
that's what's great about these things. I hear all these stories. And it's wonderful to hear that I couldn't get this to work, and I couldn't get this to work, but it's so fun to think about all these things. I have a set of outtakes that I would love to show people. And there's a girl who's in the show, and my friend Sherry Lee. And
Sherry!
Oh my God, her outtakes are hysterical. I can actually, she's like, "What the fuck, Sherry? What the fuck?" That really matters. That was so
I
funny.
might still have a couple of those where I do about the same thing, just like, it didn't work.
Oh, dude, if you can,
I do a lot of that too.
Yeah,
but
if you have any of them, send them to Nathan. He's talking about editing something for like that at some point. I might send it to people if you have anything ever. Just send them my way.
Out of curiosity, with Far From Perfect, a lot of us didn't have, yes, I was on that and whatever, but there wasn't a lot of information about what it was about before it came out, and then it was just like, everyone got to see the whole of the story with just going, hey, it's pandemic, but hey. Is there anything you can tell us about Comic Book Junkies without giving too much away?
Yeah, the things I can tell you. I don't like to give too much away about anything I do. And a lot of times, this was kind of the idea too. We have 100 people. I don't want people to know what other people are doing, basically. And I think it's kind of cool if you're in a movie and I give you just enough, and hopefully just enough. One of the things I told people, I'll get to that. I'll answer your question, I promise. Was that I told people at the beginning. I said, "Here's 5 scenes I need you to shoot." If you remember, I think I said, "I need you to shoot this, 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 and this." And it's going to be, and I can tell you a little bit about what it's going to be because I don't want to spoil the opening.
Right.
But I said it's going to be for the opening. But here you go. And people are like, well, what does this mean? And I'm like, I don't want to tell you too much. Just you have to get them like this. And it was funny because I get a call from Nathan. He goes, "Okay, I've read what you want to do," but he goes, "What the hell do you want to do?" This is my editor. He's like, "What the hell do you want to do?" And I'm like, "Let me show you." Kind of like gave him like an example. And once he understood it, once Nathan understood what I was trying to do, he edited something that was off the things that people gave us that they didn't know what they were why we were asking things. He put together something that was so amazing, and it's the first 3 minutes of the film. And it's so amazing what he edited together with all these things that people did. It's funny, it's sweet, I laughed. I was like, oh my God, he did something that was so brilliant, and it's him. Like, I mean, I came up with the idea. The execution is all Nathan with that. He edited something that was just phenomenal. But I just was amazed, and I sat there watching. I think it was 2 nights ago. I was like watching what he did, and we're trying to come up with music and stuff. I'm like, Nathan, this is the best thing you've ever edited. It really is. And it's amazing. He goes, yeah, I'm happy with it. He's just kind of like, whatever. And I'm like, Nathan, this is so nice. And so yeah. So, given that what it is, what the story, I can tell you what it's about as far as things go. It basically is, because I'll tell you about this much. Sorry. So the story itself is about a group of cosplayers and fans and stuff like that. Basically, Comic-Con gets canceled, and the world gets sucked into a black hole, and they have to they have to instead of being cosplayers, become real heroes for once, and that's the actual story. Yeah, and that's all I can tell you. But it's a lot deeper than that. It's actually, you'll see. It's actually a meditation of the human spirit, as I like to say. I mean, a fucking Terrence Malick film.
I feel like that could have some interesting twists to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of great things that do happen. It's about the various characters that are stuck in this plot line. There's a device that we imply that the plot doesn't become readily apparent, and I've tossed out the 3-act structure for screenplays. I've completely tossed it out for that. It kind of has its own structure, which I'm very happy with, and it kind of be built by itself. But I am happy with that. It's a structure that I've never actually tried before. It's like it's kind of like inventing your own structure to see if it works. And I'm like, it works. If it's great, it was free. And I didn't lose any money on it. And we haven't actually spent really any money on these films, actually, which is huge. I mean, it's huge to have, creativity come through. And just like this one, I didn't really tell people that much more where we end up. I want to kind of keep that like a secret of things and where we go. So, yeah. Okay. And so it's kind of, but it is fun. It does have a couple laughs in it, a couple cries. Yeah, it's good. It's a lot. I'm very happy with the way it's coming out. If it turns out the way I want it to, I think it will be one of the best scripts I've written. And usually I will tell you when I say that, people hate that when I say, this is the best script I've written in a long time. People are like, oh God, what the hell did he write? So you're in a real treat come July 25th.
It's coming up on the date.
Well, I'll tell you what, based on Far From Perfect, if you're saying this is the best script you've written in a long time, I'm pretty excited to see how it comes out.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm very happy with it. It's organic like that film. And you actually may see some characters from Far From Perfect, actually. So I can tell you that much. That I can tell you. There are some characters that lingered, and you're like, oh gosh, what the hell? But they go into some dark places, I will say. So I can't tell you much more than that, though.
Ooh, I'm very curious now.
Yeah. And some other surprises. If you've seen it, it's funny. So the other thing I can actually tell you this much. So I used to do these kind of fundraisers where I'd write these scripts. I'd say, hey, you know what? If you donate $20, I'll write you a 2-page script. If you donate $50, I'll do a 5-page script, and when we'll put them on, we'll do all these things. I put together this big play, kind of the same idea. I've done these shows like twice or three times, and this film is actually a sequel to one of those. You don't have to see that film, that play. You don't have to see anything about it. But if you did see that, for the one person who cares, there is actually themes from that carry over to this one. So I kind of interrelate them and stuff. So you'll see if you, yeah. I have some interesting crossovers with things. But I don't want to get too much into it. But I will say though, there is some themes from some of the other stuff I've written has come into there, and you don't need to see anything beforehand. You just have to see this one thing. So anyway, but if you see other things, you're like, hey, so yeah.
So, who is your favorite comic character?
My favorite comic book character is kind of a tie. I'll tell you for different reasons. Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. I love everything to do with Spider-Man. When I was a kid, you felt like Peter Parker. I love Steve Ditko. I love Steve Ditko. The coolest thing was we did a play. Steve Ditko drew and co-created with Stan Lee Spider-Man. I did a play called Ditko about a year ago. We did it in New York, and it was the coolest thing I've ever been through. We did it right before New York Comic Con. It was packed. It was amazing. I actually told a biographical play about Steve Ditko, and it was just stunning. It was, not the writing or anything like that. The acting, Derek was amazing. Jeff White gave one of the best performances I've ever seen as Stan Lee. He actually was Stan Lee.
Oh my God, seeing pictures of him as Stan Lee was.
Yeah, he even acted like him. It was a stunning performance. It was a commanding performance. And so when we did that, I actually was cool because I got to meet the family. I got to meet Ditko. Steve Ditko was a recluse. Like nobody gets really, people would visit him, but he was like the kind of like the J.D. Salinger of comics. But he created Spider-Man, co-created him. And I got to know the family after he passed, and I sent them the play, and he gave it a seal of approval, which was really nice. It was amazing.
Wow.
One of the most amazing. And I got to talk to Mark and everything like that. And to have kind of like the pedigree of people who saw it, it was just, if I have to say that was, I will say this is that play I put together. I was like, wow, this is something that I can't believe I did. I can't believe that, because the acting, everybody was so amazing just to be part of that. And again, not writing, not directing, to be part of that experience. It was all, and it was like this beautiful experience of like comic book history. The other character I love is the Rocketeer. I love the Rocketeer.
Oh my God.
I got to know Dave Stevens' family, the guy who created him, and I've outlined a play for the last 3 years. Another one that I'm kind of like, if I don't want to do any more bio plays, I'm going to put that one. And the other one, if I was ever going to do a script about a character who created somebody, would be the Ninja Turtles. I love the Ninja Turtles. I love the Ninja. The Kevin Eastman who created them is the nicest guy in the world.
He is.
People. Oh, he's the nicest people. He did a thing for one of my shows at one point. He did an introduction for my play, The Social Avenger in New York. He's the nicest guy in the world, and they're good people. And I would love, his story is crazy, and I love him. So it's great. So anyway,
real quick,
yeah.
How did you get into, and what really inspired you to get into these like social distance type movies?
Honestly, it was an accident. It was an accident that made me realize that it's a responsibility. Like Peter Parker, great. No, I don't have great power. Maybe like Jewish power has Jewish responsibility. I don't know. I'm Jewish, so I can make those jokes. You don't have to edit it out. I'm Jewish. Shalom. You too. I know you're Jewish. Look at you, Punisher, Punisher Steen. Anyway, but no, it was an accident. It was honestly just a stupid post. I was like on a Saturday afternoon. I'm like, hey, let's see. I'm bored at home. I have nothing to do. Let's see who might want to work on something. I figure we can edit 10 people together, maybe 12. They'll sign up. And when people responded, it was nice in some regards to say, hey, maybe we can make something out of that. And honestly, I made the joke that I made the statement before that if unless I have something to say, I won't do something. I do hope somebody picks up those reins and says, I want to do this. This is important. We have to do, because we have people who want to work. Arts have been especially hit by all this stuff on top of everything else. And to keep them alive in some regards, you have to keep them alive. I mean, if at the end of this and people, I see people online are being like, oh, I wish maybe maybe we can do something. I'm kind of sitting home. It's like, oh, maybe I get an email that says, hey, you did do something. I'll find something to do, but it will become something organic that comes whoever wants to do it at that point. I do think that if you're a director, you have a responsibility to not put people on set or put people anything like that. But you have people with your performers to do something or have that opportunity available. Even if they don't use it, want to do it with you, that's fine. But to make that available, to say, hey, you know what? We're in a pandemic, sure, but it's going to come back, guys. We're going to be doing something. And in the midst of this, we're going to be doing this and having fun and having laughs. And God, it's going to be stupid as hell, but maybe it's meaningful. If it has meaning, I will definitely. So if nobody else wants to, I see people going back to work and going back to sets that are social distance for independent films. I think the set's compromised at this point. I don't think we should be doing anything. And I think that we should obey by that and maybe take this point in our lives to say, hey, what do we want to do for the rest of our lives when this ends, and make sure we have the rest of our lives to do that with, why there's no reason unless somebody needs to make money out of it, and they can't afford not to. There really shouldn't be, we should be finding a way to get through with this and to do this art and to do this, not that anything I do by any means, but to do these things that matter to people. I think that there has to be creative ways to do things. And if there's a little more work, then do a little more work. But anyway, that's my answer. I guess. Hope that makes sense. So it's a movie and have fun, and definitely, guys, you guys have been great. I'm sorry if I said anything that offends the rest of the world. That gets me in trouble. I don't care. I
think you're safe.
I think if I did say anything, just be like, this guy was on the show tonight. Fuck him, and I'm like, oh man.
I would never do that to you, Lenny.
Oh, I hope you would. Anyway, all right. Such a disappointment, Rob.
God.
Anyway,
You lick the hair, all right.
Anyway, gentlemen and Miss, thank you so much.
Yes, Lenny, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for everything. I thank you, Miss, for sitting through all our things. We're a bunch of men, and I'm sorry about all of our kind.
No,
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry.
She has to live with me, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like 10 feet apart right now at most.
Yeah.
Like,
really?
There's social distancing.
That's
I can throw stuff at her.
Aw. Oh, that was very sweet in a very aggressive way.
It was just a piece of paper.
He's really unnecessarily aggressive for no reason.
Oh, act like you don't like it.
Well,
here we go. And it's getting warm in here.
On that note, thank you so much,
for
Lenny.
joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me, everyone. Take care. Have a good night, guys.
You too.
Good night.
Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of the Stolen Tricycle podcast. We want to give a special thanks to Lenny Schwartz for joining us and talking to us about his upcoming film, Comic Book Junkies, which will have a watch party on Facebook on July 25th at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Down below will be all the links and social media stuffs for me and the rest and all of that. So be sure to like, share, and subscribe and comment and everything. And be sure to hit that bell to get updated for our upcoming videos. I'm Rob.
I'm Ashley.
I'm Justin.
And I'm Lucas Chesty. Thank you for watching.